Er, Well, hello there. This is Raising the what? K.
Hey, I thought it was raising
Yes.
the Smiths.
Yeah, welcome. Welcome, Raising the Smiths. Yeah.
Different
Welcome.
channel.
This is our monthly podcast and on demand, I guess, too. Uh
Yeah.
so anyway, yeah, as you know, we're about nothing's off the table. We'll talk about movies, talk about politics, talk about the economy, talk about what type of
Talk,
shoes you want to wear, whatever
talk
the
about our
topic.
enemies.
Well, no, we won't give them any credit today, right?
Well,
No
because
names,
they're in
though.
the,
We do, huh?
even as we speak, they're being eliminated.
No, I wouldn't. Yeah, okay, that's him. Nothing to do with me. So anyway,
Well, they'll
uh,
see the text messages, so you can't get out of it.
at any rate, okay. Thank you for this uplifting conversation. Uh,
Okay.
anyway, thank you.
Well, I
Yeah.
wanted to uh, mention that your mother-in-law just experienced a milestone occasion, a 96th birthday. And congratulations, Feliz Cumpleaños, and many more to come to her. And we actually had a heartfelt conversation earlier today with a dear friend of ours who lost her dear mother at the age of 89 in Texas on the an auspicious day, September 7th, which was the day of our mother's birth, and who passed away on September 27th of 2017. And we visited the mausoleums of our mother and father at Holy Cross um, Cemetery in Culver City. And even though this is October and not May, which is the typical month for honoring mothers, I don't think that we need to wait on any particular occasion or observance to be
Hmm.
grateful and appreciative of our mothers. So,
Right.
and
So, well, we also visited our grandparents at Evergreen Cemetery. It's been decades, and so it was interesting. I haven't been there in so long, and just pay our respects, and uh, a reminder that live life to the fullest when you can, because you don't know how long you have on this earth. Not to be a downer here, show, but it's really fries for urgency. If you have stuff to do it, and save obviously and plan, but don't hold off too long. You just don't know, when you're going to see people last, or it's well, we're all going down that road personally. So live life and responsibly, of course. I know some people take that as creative license to be foolish, but uh
but you, but
so
this also is a time to remember that continuity that we have with loved ones who have passed on,
hmm
because this is also the time for Dia de los Muertos, All Saints Day, and All Souls Day. Uh, Halloween itself is All Hallows Eve, which is the precursor to uh, All Souls and All Saints Days in the church. But Dia de los Muertos obviously is a, a period in which people build altars, retablos. You have the sugar skulls. You have the decoration and visitation of grave sites and mausoleums and crypts and columbariums where urns uh, containing cremains are uh, maintained. And so that notion that the living and the dead really aren't necessarily that separated from each other, that they have a presence that is enduring, um, specifically in memory and memorials and monuments, and also in tributes that we have given to them, whether it's poetry or obituaries or journaling, and that just because they're gone doesn't mean they're really gone. And we're not necessarily talking in some kind of spectral fashion, but that they continue to have that influence. And our lives are ramifications and echoes of who our mothers, fathers, grandparents, uncles, aunts, cousins, friends, colleagues happen to be. So
Okay. So also want to make note, a third of our trio is spending time with her mother, just my mother-in-law that just turned 96. And so she's spending some quality time. So
that's important.
she's there in spirit through us. We're channeling her to but you know, so again, my mother-in-law, 96 years on this earth, and
That's awesome.
Godspeed. And it's been a weekend for us with celebrations. We had a wedding in the family, a niece and new nephew-in-law. And so they just arrived in Thailand on their honeymoon. So shout out to them.
Yeah.
And so so that's a
Congratulations.
momentous occasion. So that said, I want to talk about some movies. It's been a little while since we talked about some entertainment here. So to
Yeah.
something uplifting now. Continue with celebration is we just saw on Netflix the Pope's Exorcist. I don't know if you saw that yet
I did see
with
that. Starring
Russell Crowe.
Russell
I just
Crowe.
say
Yeah.
Russell Crowe. Yeah. And so
Yeah.
that
Gabriel and
that was
Mark.
interesting. Yeah,
Yeah.
he was a real character, real person. He died in 2016
Yeah. Gabriel and
and
Mark. Yeah.
wrote a lot of books. And my sister-in-law has some of his books. And so, but it was you know, I think the Vatican or the bishops didn't really bless this movie. They had some bones to pick with it. I you know, in
Well,
reading.
and understandable ones,
So
because
yeah,
Hollywood doesn't necessarily respect and acknowledge the precepts, commandments,
yeah, but
and
yeah, I just
and
want to jump in. Why I even said that also is because, like they usually do in Hollywood films, and I'll let you finish in a second, but I want to make my point why I even brought up the movie and tell you the truth is they made it the religion, the Christian side weak, extraordinarily weak. Uh,
yes,
and the movie starts with the premise that there's a God and a devil, a God and a Satan. And so that's the premise, the foundation of the movie. But they focused on the great power of the Satan, Lucifer, evil side, and significantly weakened the priest and the Christian side, which probably shouldn't be no surprise because it's Hollywood.
right.
And it should be any surprise that they made it weak. They went in there weak. They just like you know, like the first
That's because
priest is
they're
like
weak people.
shaking in his boots and stuff. And it's like it was a sad, it's just too many weak moments for me. That's the only negative I have against the film. And that's really against the writers and producers and the people that wrote the story, I guess. It's you know, just weak.
Yeah, and
And yeah,
and that's why the writers really aren't that heroic. And I know that
yeah.
they have the support of people like themselves in the uh, you know, the recently concluded Writers Guild of America strike against Hollywood uh, studios,
Mm.
which obviously are led by multi-billionaire CEOs. So I don't lose any sleep necessarily over the CEOs being frustrated, but the quality of writing these days, and there are many examples, probably too many to mention, makes you wonder whether AI might be better than some of the human hacks that are probably overpaid. Um,
Yeah.
because there's too many tropes that are just cliches. Like when somebody appears tired in a comedy or drama, they
Mm,
always say, "Oh, you look like, you know, SHIT." I mean, it's like they just recycle dialogue from movie to movie, and they want to get
yeah,
highly
yeah,
compensated for it.
yeah. It's funny because I studied screenwriting and wrote over a half a dozen myself, and to spend a lot of money in writing classes just for screenwriting, film writing, TV writing, and I could tell my wife what's about to happen next. Like we just saw another film, which I was trying to remember. I just can't think of it now. Where it was gods, and let me see, the gods were with Athena. I know Athena was the only good god in this, and looking for the oh gosh, I'm trying to think of the name of it, but let me get to the point. It'll come to me. But it's one of those like gods in Egypt thing,
Yeah.
kind of films, and where the gods are unhappy with mankind, whatever, whatever, whatever. So it was an entertaining film, but it started off cliched, and it reminded me of X-Men and Wolverine or other ones where the the reluctant protagonist, of course, they always start reluctant. That's part of it. They're reluctant. They don't want to,
Yeah, always.
and they want to get involved to only a certain extent. If they do, then something has to happen for them to want to go full in. But
Yes.
the part that was cliched the most was similar to one of the Spider-Mans, where they go into a like an MMA kind of ring and try to prove a point or something, or they need a little money, and they're in a boxing type situation or wrestling. And a lot of films will do that, to show the hero, to show that he's willing to risk his life for what? For chump change, or and to doesn't have anything else to do with his life, and just wants to get out his race through fighting other people. And it just, that part to me was just, just, the just too similar to a lot of other films. And I know there's only so many ways you could present a story, but there's still more than three ways to present a story that basically they do the same.
And more than
Yeah.
a handful of ways of writing dialogue between
Right.
uh interlocutors, conversationalists, um communicants, whether they're portrayed as human beings or gods or
Yeah.
supernatural entities of some other sort, and that there's ways of expressing thought which aren't necessarily dependent upon the standards and stereotypes of previous and contemporaneous examples of filmmaking or episodic television, but
Right.
just recycling the same verbatim commentating. It just seems preposterously lazy and unimaginative and unworthy of the handsome sums of compensation they seem to routinely demand.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, ditch digging often involves more creativity than what these pseudo intellectuals penning scripts and pitches are doing.
Yeah, actually, when you're talking, I'm trying to find that movie. My God, it just slips me right now. Um, but you're right. It just seems like they're lacking the creativity, and not just to blame writers because they don't green light these things. They may be forced to modify it to be just like uh, everybody else. And so,
Yeah,
I mean, really, it's probably the producers or the executive producers and what they call the suits, I guess.
the
They want
suits.
it, they just want it, uh, and not to uh, identify that with the Netflix series Suits, but uh, but it's just really disappointing. When I was pitching some of my writings and stuff, and I wanted to take a different angle, something different. They said, well, we're not really looking for that. It was sort of like, oh, that's interesting, but we're looking at the sellability. They just want the tried and true, something that already sold X number of $1 million or whatever widgets to you need to write something like that, similar to so and so and so and so. Yeah. If you want to write a boxing film, hey, we wanted to Sylvester Stallone meets Wolverine or something,
Yeah.
something, the two characters that have been saturated over the years. So, like,
Yeah.
okay, whatever. But anyway, interesting movie that we saw recently is Blue Beetle, and this
Oh, I like
brings
that.
brings Latinos into the world, the superhero world, and this is on the DC side, so DC family, and it was excellent. We just say excellent, and it had
I
great
told you so.
humor. Yeah, we're gonna see it regardless, but thank you. But thank you for the tip. Appreciate it. And but it was put together very well. So I don't know if we're doing any spoiler alerts today, but encourage you to see
It's
it.
been
It
out a
brings
long time, so
been a lot of not that long when you think about long, but yeah, you know, but yeah, it's been out a while. So but not years, not even a year. I mean, 6 months, 9 months, what?
well, no, not that long, but I mean, long enough that you don't have to say spoiler alert. Um,
Okay.
it's like Oppenheimer, Barbie, the last Mission Impossible. At some point, if you haven't seen it by now, it's not a moral failing per se, but you don't deserve special protection, like a spoiler alert.
Right.
It's kind of like,
Yeah.
Lincoln, spoiler alert, he's assassinated by John Wilkes Booth and other
Yeah.
conspirators. You know,
So
get off your
yeah.
ass and see the movie.
Yeah, I we could tell it was out for a while. It was only, well, in the theater, I think it was still about 20 people, 20
Yeah,
people in there. But yeah, obviously not a lot. And I can see seeing that movie again. But it does bring Latinos into the realm of more than the stereotype characters. And
right.
yeah, just taking Hollywood all this time to present minorities in a normal way. And originally in a lot of the sci-fi, minorities, blacks, Hispanics, and Asians didn't quite make it to the future, in
Because
these
they weren't
films.
letting, because the people who were writing and the people who were directing, the people who were greenlighting the films were, in many cases, just actively hostile to the existence of anyone other than people who resembled themselves, meaning their ancestors and their descendants. And they couldn't imagine a world that exists today or in the
Right.
future that had people that were different from them. And they probably had some experience because their slaves and their servants would most likely be people
Yeah,
with pigment.
we didn't even make it as servants and slaves in the future. We were just wiped
No,
out. We were just
well,
totally wiped out. So
that's why
didn't
Roddenberry was so
exist.
visionary with Nichelle Nichols,
Right.
communications officer on the original Star Trek's USS Enterprise. Where she's
Yeah.
Uhura. Now, even then, she had to be African. She couldn't be, um, a
Yeah.
black woman from the United States. She had to be from
Yeah. Yeah.
Africa. So you
Yeah.
could you couldn't.
Yeah, well, yeah, we couldn't even have a mammy like in Gone with the Wind. I mean, we just didn't exist.
Right.
It just,
And then there was that phase where you could be
yeah,
in the movies, but you would be the first one killed.
yeah,
That was an
uh,
advancement.
yeah. So, yeah, it's just sad, that it's taken all this time despite the achievements of minorities like blacks and Hispanics too, and Asians and every race and ethnicity under the sun, where in 1930s, 40s, 50s, yeah, we're the maid, we're the bellhop, we're the elevator man, we're the cook, we're the janitor, and what else? It was pretty much that's it. Like it, did the clothes and ironed the clothes, took care of the children, like mammies did, and
But you know something?
yeah,
That's why the recent death of Richard Roundtree this past week was noteworthy because
hmm
he was one of the heroes of black cinema during the
hmm
blaxploitation era of the
yeah,
1970s.
yeah,
And his archetypal private detective, John Shaft, who starred in
yeah.
several
Shut your
films.
mouth. Shut your
Yeah,
mouth. I'm
exactly.
only talking about Shaft.
The Oscar-winning theme
You
song
can
written
dig it.
by the great Isaac Hayes. But
Yes.
Richard Roundtree's Shaft himself recognized a dignified, intelligent, intrepid uh, hero who wasn't a step and fetch it stereotype, who wasn't a pimp, who wasn't a criminal, but
Right.
actually someone seeking justice, who had guile, who had creativity, who was masculine, and who was very much a part of his community and was respected for it.
I,
And
yeah, go ahead.
not only spoke truth to power in that, you know, virtue signaling, progressive kind of way, but also fought actively, not just like doing, signs and, sit-ins, but actually was involved,
Mhm.
with fisticuffs and firearms and the ferocity of his persona.
Yeah, remind me of James Brown and not the singer. And then
Jim
Fred
Brown.
William Jim Brown and Fred Williamson.
Yeah,
And not to disrespect them, it just made me think about the original Black action heroes. And I know we're missing out some other names too with that. So, but it just it's a good thing that now, yeah, we could be superheroes as minorities. We can have meaningful parts in serious, more dramatic uh and in comedy. We're just not the clown, the class clown anymore.
exactly, and not neutered.
Right.
He was, like the song goes, who is the man who has risked his neck for his brother man? John Shaft. Right on.
John's, yeah, that's
They
right.
say this new Shaft is a bad. Shut your mouth.
Jump
Only
out.
talk
But I'm
about
always
Shaft.
about Shav. Yeah, I used to like this song. I
It's
actually I saw a symphony play that maybe 6, 7 months, about 8 months ago. No, I
yeah.
think it was late last year. It was an old video, but it just reminded me because I think he won Isaac Hayes won the award, right? Soundtrack.
Oscar, yeah, he won awards for that. Yeah, best Oscar soundtrack. He's a complicated man, and no one understands him but his woman, John
That's
Shaft.
right.
Can you dig it?
Yeah.
You know, and
Yeah.
uh, that was an era in which there was even a representation in villainy, like William Marshall's Blackula.
Oh yeah. He died not too long ago, right?
Yeah, not too long ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that scene where his coffin is arriving in the United States, and they go toward the coffin. Said, "Don't go toward the coffin. Don't."
Never do go to the coffin.
Yeah, you start seeing the coffin top slowly, uh, being pushed out. Run,
Yeah, right.
run. What do
That's
you
the first
think
thing you
is in
do.
that? What do you think is in that coffin? And
Exactly.
you see a hand coming out of the coffin. I'm gone. I'm like in a rowboat. I'm in a rowboat at this point.
Right. Head
It's like
out.
because everybody on that ship is about to die.
Yeah.
Everybody on that ship is about to die. So I'm getting there. Hey, come on, let's get out of here.
In fact, that's a great segue into another topic, beyond the recipes to Richard Roundtree and that retrospective towards black exploitation films, but also, as we've alluded to before, with discussions of Dia de los Muertos, All Souls, and All Saints Days, we're only a couple of days removed prospectively from Halloween. And while we're on the topic of cinema, what would be some of your favorite Halloween movies other than the eponymously named Michael Myers franchise? What would be some of your other top recommended Halloween type films?
Okay. The series of scary movies, those are hilarious. Those, to me, and then Freddy Krueger's, Chucky's, Poltergeist. Oh my gosh, it's quite a few. The Halloween, yeah, movies. What? Rosemary's Baby, Exorcist itself. Well, now the Pope's Exorcist, and I think the Halloween theme is more expanded. I'm expanding, anything with like shows a high degree of evil in it. That is supernatural, I think would qualify, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
Supernatural evil, yeah, because there's always evil perpetrated by living people, humans.
yeah,
But and technically that you can include some of those, like the Texas um massacre, Salt
Chainsaw,
Chain,
yeah,
yeah,
it's Chainsaw
massacre.
Massacre.
I think it was one of them's uncle, the boy or the girl, whatever, and he chopped them in half and stuff. That was gruesome. But anyway, that was the original film, by the way.
Right.
Um, when you see a family member come at you with a gas powered chainsaw, whether you know them or not, I would like move away and run.
Well,
And,
absolutely.
they're coming toward you like this, and it's zzz, and it's zzz. I'm like,
Well, in fact,
hey,
anybody doing
uncle,
that.
look, hey, uncle, what are you doing? Any problem?
Yeah.
I would be running and asking that question away.
See, but you know something? And without going back to well-trod ground previously covered in this episode, that's why I'm skeptical about writers receiving massive rewards for writing the same nonsense and cliche.
Yeah, I mean, I think you could do a setup scene without, the classic scene where three or four friends, or it could just be one or two, or just one, they see somebody and they run away, and it's like, and then they fall. They got the key in the hand, the key falls on the ground, they're grabbing, trying to find the key, and they go like this, trying to get the key, the right key. Now all of a
Yeah,
sudden you're confused which key opens your damn car. You're like,
yeah.
you just
Come
look,
on.
look, it's like
Yeah,
it's like I'm going, which one? Damn, yeah,
yeah, yeah,
really?
yeah. It's like this race against time because the menace is approaching imminently.
And they're walking slow too. They're not even
Yeah.
chasing them. They're walking slow.
Oh yeah. That's in
They're
fact,
like, look.
yeah.
Just
That's
like walking
basically
slow. Look,
Michael Myers or
he should
the
not kill anybody
or
unless
the
you said before we talk about
or
in a
the
wheelchair.
Mummy from the
Yeah,
1930s.
yeah, yeah. Only people in wheelchairs should be dead in these movies.
Yeah,
or
or bedridden
bedridden.
people,
That's it.
bedridden people.
That's the market. Because anybody
But
that
anyway,
goes, oh,
yeah. But
and
anyway,
it's like warning you too.
yeah. These are to be some of my recommendations for films that were released within the past year and a half that would
Yeah.
fit the mood for Halloween thrills and chills. Um, I would recommend The Last Voyage of the Demeter, which was
Oh, I didn't see
released
that yet. I know that's recent. Yeah.
on August 11th of this year, 2023.
Hmm.
I would recommend Boogeyman with Dylan McDermott as a widower and psychologist whose wife dies tragically in an automobile accident and whose daughters are still coping with it. But there's this mysterious and malignant entity that takes advantage of their grief to wreak, I guess, cliche havoc. But I would recommend Boogeyman. There was Barbarian from
Hmm.
last year, which involved um, kind of an Airbnb, which not only has a conflict between two normal human beings who both rented it, but also something else that happens to be living on the premises. And
I did think
what
about Candyman. Remember
the
Candyman?
remake or the
Well,
original or
just
both?
the series, just the whole series. The the various films. Yeah.
The first one was the best, Tony Todd.
Hmm.
Um, and I think the initial sequel, also starring him.
I think it was pretty good too. The sequel.
Yeah. Now there was a remake written by inferior writers that was subsequently released
Hmm.
a few years ago, which didn't really need to be done.
I don't
And
even think went anywhere either, did it? I don't think so.
no, and you know, it was really an example how a lack of talent can get you further than you might think. If you
Yeah.
use
So
if you use like the right branding, because people know what Candyman is. It's kind of
yeah.
like um Dracula should always succeed if you got it in the title. Like The Last Voyage of Demeter didn't
Uh,
have it in the title, but it was based on the Captain's Log chapter in Bram Stoker's original uh,
mhm.
late 19th century Gothic novel Dracula.
Yeah, I did like Luke Evans and Dracula Untold though. That was a great story.
You
Yeah,
know, it was.
that's one of the best. That was just a great film and one of the best. No offense to the previous folks that did, Dracula, but that was excellent. It really was excellent.
Oh, you know something? My favorite Dracula would be Christopher Lee's rendition
Oh
for the
yeah,
series of movies produced by Hammer Films,
yeah.
the
I
British
remember.
company.
Yeah, I remember our mother taking us to see his version. That was a long time ago. Christopher Lee. I do remember she took us to the film to see that. We did see
And
that
there were
as kids.
several Christopher Lee
Yeah.
Dracula movies.
Yeah. So I think it was only one with Christopher Lee. She actually took us both to the movies.
Right. Well, I've
I
seen the
don't,
other ones by myself.
yeah, but that was I was just referring to, our mother taking us, which I thought, because she's not into that, type of genre,
Well, she took us to
um,
see Godzilla versus the
right.
Smog Monster. She was accommodating
Well,
us.
well, yeah, she was accommodating us. It wasn't before her, it was for us.
Yeah.
What my point, yeah, because she wasn't into those movies, films and stuff. So good mother, she knew we were interested. So, you know,
Yeah.
and I remember distinctly there was a scene where she covered both our eyes.
Mm.
Yeah, we were both, she went like this. Okay,
Oh,
make sure we couldn't see.
must
Yeah.
have been pretty gruesome though. I guess
Or,
we'll,
or that R rated kicked in.
yeah.
She didn't
Yeah.
take us to see X rated, but R rated was pretty out there. you
That's
know,
true.
so not to be graphic here, I'm avoiding that. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
but you know, we were kids. So I said, oh my gosh, okay, where's the vampire? No one said it would be this. Then she said, Chinatown too. She took us to see Chinatown with Faye
Right.
Dunaway and what's his name that played the detective?
Jack
Um,
Nicholson,
Jack Nicholson.
the
Yeah,
great Jack Nicholson,
right.
who's still the land
Um,
of the living. Thank God.
yeah, yeah, he is. At any rate,
And come to think of
mhm.
it, he was in a couple of films that would probably be good Halloween films, like The Shining.
Yeah, then now that should have been included in our list. I know you were only saying a year and a half, but he was crazy in that one. It's insane.
Like,
Yeah,
it was that the presence of that house.
yeah.
It was corrupting. Because he wasn't necessarily that way before.
And what? We can't forget about what was that car? Christine. Remember the
Right.
spirit in that car? Okay. Yeah, Christine. Am I saying it right? The Chevrolet or something? Christine that
Yeah,
uh
it was the
was a
um
sentient being, almost a sentient machine, a car or something.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it was
Stephen King. That was Stephen King. Yeah, Stephen King.
eliminating the enemies of the car's owner, a young uh bullied, impressionable young man.
You know, I don't really have a problem with that. And some, you know what? Sometimes the word evil is stretched too thin. If you're a bully and you're messing with someone and you actually injure them or kill them or do something and their car or bicycle seeks revenge or their axe, I have no problem with you getting whacked. I really don't.
I don't either.
In fact, that's not even really evil when you think about it. So that was like
That's
a
justice.
misnomer. Yeah, that was his justice. That car wasn't evil. That thing was like, I'm gonna take care of my my friend here, my owner, my partner here. I'm gonna take care of you.
Well,
And
exactly.
yeah,
Well, Christine, the sentient, sinister car, is basically the same type of character that you will see in other films, whether they're true horror or certain types of science fiction genres, like Jurassic Park, where
mhm,
the the antagonist is really the main party, and their initial victims
mm,
are actually people that you kind of despise.
yeah,
And it's before they and so initially you're kind of almost rooting for the monster, whether it's
yeah,
mechanical or whether
yeah,
it's
yeah,
reptilian.
yeah. Yeah, I actually like going to movies to see retaliation and
Yeah,
vengeance. And just like the Avengers, we vengeance. That's in our
well,
name.
that's the
It's like
name.
we're
That's the
coming to
name.
get you. We're coming to
Yeah,
get you, a-holes. Come to get you. And you
there's
should
no
be, yeah, you should be gotten too.
there's no avenging unless there's some type of atrocity or crime or wrongdoing that's perpetrated, because that's what avenging is. If something didn't happen that was evil and perpetrated by somebody specific, there wouldn't be any avenging.
Right. So
And
yeah, I got to rethink some of these films that actually some entity is just seeking, justice.
but
You know.
but then they go too far. See,
Well,
they cast too wide a net,
yeah,
and that's when it becomes it shifts almost in
yeah.
tonality within the same movie, from a revenge story, which I think is part of horror in many cases, to something where, oh my God, I could be the next one. And I'm not like the bullies. I'm not like the terrorists. I'm not like the brutal cops.
You just
You know,
disagreed with him. Yeah, and then he's
yeah,
after you. Yeah. And
yeah,
he
because
didn't get a contract because of you, so you're doomed too. So
right, so mere disagreement shouldn't be a capital offense.
But if there's disagreement where they are losing something significant, even though you're not evil per se yourself, then it's understandable too that, man, you stopped me from buying the dream house for my family, and it caused us to lose that opportunity, and then there's no other opportunity, so we had to go into a roach motel for 6 months. And I figure in 6 months that they absolutely hate you, and figuring out how can they legally get rid of you, or not legally, I guess, huh?
But to get rid of you. Well,
Get rid of you.
but see, there's an element, not to go too deep into reality, but competition exists where more than one person may want to buy a quote unquote dream house, or more than
Right.
one person may want a particular job, and they only have only one. They're only going to sell the house once to one person, and they're only going to give the job to one person.
So they start wiping out everyone else that wants to buy it, that would probably be considered evil.
Well, I think so. I mean, I think,
Yeah.
yeah, once you, because that's just a disproportionate reaction to losing
Yeah.
a competition, which, because the competition doesn't have to necessarily be a game or a race. It can be like bidding for a house. It could be
So
getting that job. It could be even, courting that particular attractive girl or woman at school or in your workplace, and she
so
prefers somebody else who might happen to be an NBA player,
yeah.
or happen to be the son of a billionaire,
Well,
or
you remind me of the Kingpin, where
mm,
I'm talking about it when he appeared on Daredevil, and as one of the, well, obviously the big nemesis, and this other, he was trying to court. I don't know. I saw your thumb enter that or something, some kind of,
it was a
okay,
thumbs up
okay. And he
like
was
this.
at he okay, let me tell my story, dang it. And he was at dinner courting this woman he was interested in, and he wanted to be a gentleman, and not show to her his other lifestyle, his criminal kingpin lifestyle of of money laundering, murder, pillage, and extortion, and etc., and drug dealing or whatever criminal activities. And this brother duo, one of the brothers said, well, he's not picking up his cell phone. So the other brother said, well, why don't you go see him? They found out where he was, and he interrupted the dinner. And Kingpin said, why are you interrupting? Well, I tried to call you, you didn't pick up. It's a reason I'd pick up, because I'm at dinner with my friend here, which is a lady. He introduced him to the lady, and he was quite agitated that you want to talk. And basically, she messed his dinner date up, and he got upset because, I mean, he's like, the other guy's talking about drugs and somebody, you trying to impress this lady, talk about drug dealing, or some, you
Yeah.
know shipment didn't arrive and stuff, and she obviously was there. So it's pretty much over as far as the relationship, any potential relationship.
Yeah, that's it.
And so he was mad. He says, okay, meet me outside and I will talk. So he's talking, he hits the guy, and the guy falls down in between, and he was in his he was wedged in between in the car and outside, and the guy was sitting there, and Kingpin took the door, slamming it on his head, kept slamming him. First you think he's gonna stop, and he's talking, hey, I just wanted to, and this guy's ruthless too, but the Kingpin was more ruthless, and he
More
and
powerful.
more powerful. And so he keeps slamming it for 5 minutes and decapitates the guy.
Mm.
And he knew what was going to happen. His brother was going to find out, and he basically just started a gang war by killing the brother.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
because him and his brother weren't wrapped too tight. I mean, they were like vicious. So Kingpin knew. Now he just started a war. And
Yeah.
but the brother didn't know his brother was killed until they found he had his body, headless body, and he got mad. And so the guy got like 20, 30, 40 people that were gangsters to go after the Kingpin. But what they didn't know, the Kingpin was waiting for him and slaughtered all of them. In fact, the Kingpin didn't wait for them to come to him. he did a preemptive strike while they were coming out, getting ready to go get in the cars, and decimated all of them.
Yeah.
So, it's like,
But there's nothing, I guess there's nothing redeeming though, is there? About the Kingpin, certainly. I
like
mean,
he messed up the Kingpin's date. He was trying to be normal. He was trying to have a normal part of his life. And he was like screaming that he wanted more out of just being a powerful criminal. So one could temporarily sympathize with his plight to bring normalcy into his life. They were trying to show his human side. He was sweet, caring
right.
toward the female, and but it's not his nature.
Yeah. Indicating that the relationship is doomed inevitably. It just didn't have to end before it began.
Right. And yeah. And so and he realized he was trying to be something he wasn't. He realized that was his arc story. Yeah, he
Yeah.
realized that. It's just,
It certainly wasn't an arc of redemption, but of realization.
yeah.
But at the same time of cowardice, because he let it end there. In
Yeah.
that he surrendered, he capitulated, he acquiesced to what he had been.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that particular setback, he ceased to explore a different type of life than the one he had been leading. He let the frustration and the sabotage of that relationship by the underling just destroy any dreams that he had of becoming better rounded. Because I don't think he would necessarily have quit um, his criminal entrepreneurial life, but there was something that he saw was lacking, and that was love.
Mm-hmm.
And he gave up on love.
Right. He gave up on love. That sounds like another song to write.
That
Gave
could
up
be
on love.
bring back Luther Vandross.
Gave up on love. By the Kingpin.
Well, yeah,
Uh,
and love and horror, and Kingpin, which is part of Marvel's comic book and um, cinematic universes, as a adversary traditionally of both Spider-Man and Daredevil, among other heroes like the Punisher, is not strictly horror, but there's certainly horrible events and homicides and schemings that take place. And it's like, what is horror? Because horrible events do happen in other genres like westerns and war movies, and at least in an emotional sense, rom-coms before everything turns out well.
yeah.
So what makes something really horror as opposed to a TV show or a movie that has elements that might be defined as horror? It seems to me like it has to be an overarching part of the movie or TV show's identity, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. Yeah. So, wow, we focused on I guess our theme. Well, it's Halloween time season. So, going over films that may not be traditionally Halloween related, but, we took creative license. So, but, I look forward to some other movies coming down the pipeline, and outside of the horror genre, and just in general, as you know, and Raising the Cane, we love films,
Yeah, we do.
love TV shows, we love comic books, we love graphic novels, we like stories, short stories dealing with the subjects of sci-fi, action, adventure, superhero, which is a whole new category now.
In fact, Martin
Yeah.
Scorsese's new movie.
Okay. I didn't see it though, so I can't.
Killers of the Flower Moon,
Yeah, you saw it. I'm gonna
directed by
see it eventually.
Martin Scorsese, starring
Mhm.
Leonardo DiCaprio and Robert De Niro, Lily Gladstone, and several other talented actors and actresses, uh, chronicling a real world horror in Oklahoma, 1921 to 1925, that ultimately resulted in the murders of 60 members of the Osage Nation
Mm-hmm.
by unscrupulous paler people who wanted the oil wealth and the head rights of the victims who died from poisonings and shootings and other means of inflicting uh, harm and Holocaust on their targets. It's 3 hours and 20 minutes, so it's a commitment. And I heard recently that there are movies or movie houses around the country that were actually kind of showing it in halves, with an intermission, and that's been now eliminated by the studio. So you show it in its entirety, which is the way I watched it all the way through. Just refrained from drinking too much water and soda beforehand.
Yeah. Yeah, I had to make an adjustment now that the movies are being made longer on average, in my opinion. Movies you used to be probably would have been 90 minutes, like 2 hours, make it just a little bit over 2 hours, some 2.5, a lot, 2.5. And now I said, my God, I can't drink all this 7 Up or Sprite and have all this stuff anymore. It's like, wow, because it's like, my God, it's only been an hour and a half, still got another full hour to go to. It's
Yeah,
like, I'm like, it's like, it's
yeah,
strange.
and
It's like, mhm.
it's in the theater, so you can't press the remote to pause it.
Yeah.
So if you miss it, you miss it.
Yeah, so yeah, them over 3 hours one, those are issues now, getting older. The bladder ain't what it used to be.
That's right.
I mean, I can survive if I don't drink anything, but that's a long time getting dehydrated. It's like, oh my gosh.
That's why you bring sweethearts and suck on those.
Yeah. Yeah, chewing gum too, we do.
There you go.
Yeah.
Or
And then
depends.
it depends.
Yeah.
So at any rate, anyway, so yeah, I will see the new Martin Scorsese film at some point. I have a great interest to see that, and it's a true story. Well, there's always creative license in these films to make them dramatic and stuff that didn't really happen. I'm sure it wasn't like
But you know something?
exactly
I
what,
read the book by David Grant,
right?
and it's available in paperback at your
Yeah, saw it.
reliable bookstores or on Amazon.
Mhm.
And he kind of switches, he being Scorsese, in the cinematic adaptation of the story, which is a real life reign of terror. He takes the focus away from the head lawman and puts it basically in the perspectives of the villains and the victims, who are the Osage uh,
Right.
uh, tribe that's targeted. Um, and Lily Gladstone, um, who's Molly, she is suffers quite a bit because her loved ones are being murdered, her mother and sisters, and it appears that her Anglo husband is no angel in it, without giving everything away. But so it takes the an approach different than Hollywood would normally do, which is kind of like the savior from the European background and putting that person front and center and shifting it somewhat. Not entirely towards the indigenous folk, but at least in a more interesting direction. Then let's say Mississippi Burning, which only really respects the FBI special agents as opposed to the victims of the racist terror attack in the South during the Civil Rights era. Because in many ways, Killers of the Flower Moon, and the Flower Moon refers to a time period in which taller plants prevent sunlight from getting to smaller flowering plants. And so it means that the smaller flowering plants die. So it's a killer moon.
Oh, that's interesting.
And yeah. And actually, right now, as we speak and record this podcast, we've had the harvest moon, which is the last full moon before Halloween. So this is a time of moons and muertos and a separation of the worlds of the living and the dead, which is Dia de los Muertos, and Halloween.
Mhm.
And of even mothers, we started the show with obviously a minor tribute to mothers, and Molly's character in Killers of the Flower Moon is a mother herself and worried about whether or not she's going to
Yeah.
be around for them.
Yeah, I'm moving on before we get off. I just found the movie that I was talking about. It's called Knights of the Zodiac, and it's on Netflix. And let me just read you what it's about. A street fighter discovers a world of mystical powers and ancient warriors as he trains to become the chosen guardian of the reincarnated goddess, which is Athena. So Athena knows she's about to be killed by the other gods. They're in a battle between their people, guardians, and her guardians are being killed one at a time, her protectors, and she's about to go down. So they don't give the backstory on the mechanics of it, but she's going down to earth with a baby, which is her. She recreates herself into a baby,
Interesting.
and to be raised as a human, not to come out as Athena until that moment comes or whatever inciting incident. So a knight, a gold knight, takes her and sacrifices himself so she would be protected as an infant. And the story unfolds. I won't spoil it, but it's on Netflix. It's really interesting. First, it doesn't look like. The title maybe doesn't look like it'd be interesting, but it really is. Knights of the
I have to check
Zodiac.
it out because there's interesting horror anime that's out there. Castlevania, Death
Yeah, I saw
Note.
that too. I watched those, and I finished them all. So I got to wait till next season for about at least 12, 13 TV shows now. I've
Yeah.
been waiting a year and 2 years for some that say they're going to renew it and do them, but I'm still waiting.
Actually, there's something out right now on Netflix. A limited series, 8 episodes in all. Bruce Greenwood, Carla Gugino, and others. It's the Fall of the House of Usher.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I didn't see it,
Yeah,
but I saw it on Netflix. Yeah, I didn't see it yet, but I saw that it was showing.
yeah, it's replete with references to Edgar Allan Poe's sonnets and poems and short stories and novels, the characters and the places in those works of fiction, and very much is a work of horror in serialized episodic form. It's a single storyline with a definite conclusion. And I would definitely recommend it.
Okay. So thank you. So that's it for this exciting episode. We're on entertainment. I got to go. Marty's got to go.
Boo.
So
I mean, that's not a
uh,
boo in terms of
so
opposition, but a boo because it's
yeah,
the cusp
yeah.
of Halloween.
So yeah. So anyway, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Appreciate it. And raisingthecane.com is the website. And next time we should have Miss Sandra with us to give a third perspective. Always invite that. So at any rate, until next time, we'll see you later on Raising the Cane.
And
Raising the Cane.
trick or treat responsibly.
Yeah. Okay. Trick or treat responsibly. You heard it from us first. Goodbye. Till
Bye.
next time. Bye. Sign up, subscribe, share. Bye.